All right, good afternoon, students. Today's class should be a very interesting one. It's going to be mostly discussion, but we have a fun class activity planned. Um, we're going to talk about one of the themes in A Monster Calls, which is the power of stories. Now, I think many of you guys have been able to grasp what I mean by this when I've brought it up, but just in case nobody knows what it means, I decided to dedicate an entire class to this theme. Not just the theme, but also a symbol. Because if you looked at the instructions for your playlist project, I mentioned that one of the themes in A Monster Calls is the power of stories. And then I also mentioned that one of the symbols is, well, the stories that the monster tells. So I feel like that might cause some confusion. So hopefully today's class clarifies it. All right. We're going to talk about why A Monster Calls is a story about stories. What is it that we're supposed to learn from the monster's stories? And what are we supposed to learn from stories that you may be familiar with? I'm going to have you guys make connections to other stories that you may know. But before we get into all of that, let's start with our word of the day. Hope you guys enjoy the little anime guy in the front. So today's word of the day is adulation. That is spelled Adulation. Adulation. Has anyone heard this word before? Excellent. David, can you help us with the definition?
Okay. Extreme or excessive admiration, flattery, or praise.
All right. Extreme or excessive admiration, flattery, or praise. Also known as hyping something or someone up. Or gassing it up. I don't know what the kids say these days. So, words that would be synonymous with this word are pretty much included in the definition: admiration, flattery, or praise, but an extreme amount of it, or it's very excessive to the point that it feels fake or disingenuous. All right, Lacey, can you help us with the example sentence?
The monster did not want adulation from
Adulation.
adulation from Connor, but rather honesty.
Right. The monster did not want adulation from Connor, but rather honesty. So, in other words, the monster isn't looking for praise. He isn't looking for awards, or he isn't looking to be flattered by Connor. He's just there to help Connor and accept the truth and help him become honest with himself. Right? So he's not looking for adulation. He's looking for honesty, especially honesty from Connor's part. All right, I'm gonna leave this up here for just a bit, give you guys the opportunity to write the word, definition, and example sentence.
Unrelated question, but is there any yew trees around here?
I don't know. We'll have to look that up.
Do you know that
I know many people were dying.
we're all dying?
All right. This side of the class, thumbs up if you have the word, definition, and example sentence written down for adulation. Okay? This side of the class, thumbs up if you have the word, definition, and example sentence for adulation. Excellent.
Just give me a minute. I'll be quick.
Are you still writing it?
Oh yeah, I'm still writing this. Yeah.
All right, we need to move along.
You can just copy off mine.
Yeah, you can just copy ours. All right. All right. So this entire week, there's been a little bit of a pattern with our writing prompts. I'm asking you to draw connections between other texts and monster calls. All right. The reason why I have been doing these writing prompts is because it's helping you prepare for your playlist project, in which you have to compare and draw parallels between a monster calls and the songs that you're choosing, because the songs are also texts. By the way, any questions about the playlist project and how to put it together or anything, Lily?
My link to my playlist isn't working.
All right. If you want to maybe send it to me via Schoology message, see if that works, and then we'll see if we can attach it to the document. There'll probably be some technical kinks that we need to work out prior to the final draft. Okay.
Okay, cool.
All right. With that said, I want you guys to think about other books. We're going to talk about stories today, the power of stories. So I want to ask you guys this question. Today, you guys going to work on prompt 243. Which books have made an impact on your life and how? So, how did this book impact your life? I just say, I liked this book because of the story, but what did it help you with? What impact did it leave you on? Did it help you see the world differently, learn more about yourself? All right. Which books have made an impact on your life and how? 3 minutes beginning now.
This is not here.
Sophie. Lucian. Let's take another minute. All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Today's prompt asked you, which books have made an impact on your life and how? Who would like to share? Lacey.
A book that has impacted on my life is a book called You've Reached Sam. It's like about
What's it called?
You've Reached Sam
You've Reached Sam. Okay.
by Desmond Bell, and like it's about a story about this girl who whose boyfriend died in a car accident, It's really sad. I love them. Like it taught for me. It taught me how like you shouldn't take for granted with the you should take the time for granted with the people that you love because you'll never know when or how they're gonna die. And like you shouldn't hold grudges because when they do die, you'll just feel really guilty. Because like the character Julie, she was mad at her boyfriend for like not picking her up at the airport because he promised her that he would, and then he like died in a car accident trying to get to the airport.
Jeez.
And then she tried to call.
Hey, don't spoil it. I
and
might be
it said,
interested in
"Hey,
reading
you
this
reached
book.
Sam, leave
don't-
a message.
Hey, no spoilers. I'm actually intrigued in maybe
No, I
reading this
haven't
book.
read it.
Oh,
I
okay.
was just making that
All right,
assumption
so
based off the
so that taught you not to take time for granted and not to hold grudges.
Yeah.
All right. Anyone else want to share what books left impact on their lives? Going once. Hazel.
Okay. I have a few. The Wingfeather Saga, because it was the first series of books like I ever read. There's like 4 books. Still haven't finished the 4th one because it's getting sad. So I'm like, no, I'm gonna finish it, but you know. Second, probably Heidi. It was like before I read the Wingfeather Saga. When I was homeschooled, my mom would pick books and be like, "Oh, read this or this or this," and so I read Heidi, and it was like a really, really beautiful book. Third, Wonder, because boy and his struggles and differences.
I love Wonder.
Because it's a cool book. And of course, A Monster Calls, because when I finished the book, I went to Young Women's, and there's actually like her name's Emily. She lives like right across the street from us, and ever since like we moved in, she's always been like a second mom to us. And she's actually also in the hospital with cancer. And when I went to Young Women's right after I finished the book, they said she isn't coming home because the cancer has spread to her kidneys. So that was really sad, but it's a relation to the books, kind of, I guess.
So you found a connection between A Monster Calls and
Reality.
someone in your life. Yeah, Monster Calls does kind of hit deep. Right now, I have some people close to me actually going through some health challenges. So going through this book has actually been kind of it's been a very different experience from when I initially first read it. So we'll go David, Alan, and Lincoln. Did you ever hit up? All right, David.
Well, I think this one.
The Silmarillion by Tolkien.
Yep.
Right. What impact is that leaving you?
Well, it's just so interesting the fact that Tolkien spent most of his life on his work, on building the mythology he wanted to create for England because it was devoid of its own mythology.
Yeah. Tolkien is a genius because he didn't just create like a whole fantasy world with lore. He went out of his way to actually create a civilization.
Yeah.
Which I think is fantastic
Several
because there's like
civilizations.
several civilizations within Middle Earth and all with their own history and language, which he even developed languages for. It's insane.
He completed the 2 Elvish versions, and he somewhat did hit the Khuzdul and Black Speech, but he didn't finish those.
Yeah.
Sadly.
I think his mind is incredible. So very left an impact on you because you really seen how expansive one's imagination can be.
Yeah.
All right.
The value of it.
And value. Yeah. Alan, then David. I mean Alan, then Lincoln. Sorry.
Excuse me.
I think it's because Java beginner learning. It let me know about my new interest,
What was the name of the book?
the C++ and Java.
Oh, learning C++ and Java. Okay, so
Yes.
do you do coding?
Yes.
Oh, very cool.
It just let me find my new interest and let me know about how to create the game.
Create a game.
Yes.
Okay, wow. So you're looking to code and develop a game.
Yes.
That's awesome. So books on C++ and Java. I don't know anything about coding. like I'm aware of what they are. I've never done coding in my life, but that's really cool. So that book impacted you because it helped you pick up a new interest that you're hoping to realize.
Yes.
That's awesome, Alan. Lincoln, you'll be our last one.
Wait, before Lincoln goes,
Oh,
sorry.
hold on. Lincoln's been waiting.
Oh, okay.
So there's this book that Steve Young wrote called QB. It's his autobiography.
But,
And,
okay, I know who Steve Young is. What's the name of the book?
QB.
QB. Okay.
Yeah, and it's just like it's such a cool thing to like see what like it made me have a lot of respect for just like people in general, especially like athletes and stuff like that, because they go through a lot of crap with like the media and stuff like that. And I don't know, it's just a really cool story to see like all the cool stuff he did. Like he visited Jerusalem like during his when he was playing football and stuff like that.
So his autobiography really inspired you. Shows you that an athlete can even be a humble person.
Yeah,
Just like
yeah.
I know Steve Young. Not know personally, but I know of Steve Young. But yeah, that's really neat. Yeah. So then I like autobiographies. Autobiographies are very interesting because they're either going to be the most self-congratulatory books ever, or very egotistical, or they're very raw and honest that you'll read them and be like, oh, this person's just like me. Okay, they may be more rich and famous, but I can relate to them to a degree. Really depends on.
Yeah, he puts himself down so much in that book. He's definitely not like me.
Oh, okay. Okay, so he's willing to criticize himself.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Someone with a big ego wouldn't really do that. Hazel, we'll come back to you real
sorry.
quick. Be very quick with it.
Yes. Sorry. I said that the cancer is spreading to her kidneys. I meant to say the chemo is shutting down her kidneys. So
Okay. Yeah. Chemo
just to,
chemo is a double-edged sword because it kills a lot of cells, but because
it's
you have a lack of cells in your body, you are debilitated and made weaker. So
radiation.
yeah, it's the radiation. Okay, so I want to talk to you guys today about the power of stories and what that means in the context of A Monster Calls. So, in case you didn't include this in the notes, but I believe we did write this down at the beginning of the unit, Monster Calls consists of two narratives, a frame narrative and an embedded narrative. So the frame narrative is the main story that we're following, or like the main campaign in the video game. All right, embedded narratives would be, if we're using in video game terms, like side quests. But the main narrative that we are following is Connor and the monster. Right, Connor is a lonely boy. His mother's dying of cancer. The monster comes to visit him, and then the embedded narrative, the one that's woven into the main story, are the tales that the monster tells Connor. That would be the embedded narrative. So this book explores how. So the purpose of this book, one of the reasons why Patrick Ness decided to write this book, because it wasn't his concept. This concept was developed by another author, Siobhan Dowd. She had a rough idea of it that she passed on to her editor before she unfortunately passed away of cancer. But one thing that Patrick really wanted to convey with this story is about how this is a story about stories. More specifically, it's about how the stories we hear teach us about the world and how those lessons come to shape us. This is why I asked you guys about what books left an impact on you. Because hopefully what you're getting through in English class isn't just Brother Lyles has us read a book, we do the project, we do the discussion, we have the project. Hopefully, over the course of this year, hopefully the stories that we've talked about and discussed, hopefully you're learning how. Hopefully you're getting something from them. Hopefully they're changing your life or the way you look at things, or the way you look at things. Because all these stories are meant to convey a message to you. Hopefully you guys are not plotting a murder like in Macbeth. So hopefully hopefully that's not the lesson you took away from it. That's just telling you to be wary of deceitful people and not to be deceitful yourself. But hopefully these books are leaving an impact with you, because A Monster Calls is a story about how the stories we read and the stories we hear, they leave an impact on us, whether it's a fictional book, whether it's a fantasy book or a fairy tale that we heard growing up, or even someone's life story like Steve Young. Or I love hearing about my mom's childhood. She went through a lot of trials, but she's become a stronger person as a result. That's a story that inspires me. So, the power of stories. That is one of the themes. That is one of the 5 themes that we were looking at with A Monster Calls. Now, here's where I think I might have sparked some confusion in our discussions. So, stories as a theme and as a symbol. All right. Let's go back to the very first class, if you can remember. If you can remember the very first class this year, what is a theme? This is a class about themes and symbols. But first off, what is a theme? Why do I have you guys look for themes or track themes in the books that we read? Who can tell me what a theme is? Well, it's on the slide. David.
Well, themes help us to learn from the book.
Yeah, themes are what we're supposed to learn from the book. All right. Sometimes the books that we read, especially as we get older, a lot of the children's books we read, they're very upfront with what we're supposed to learn. Right? They're very simple and they're very straightforward. As you get older and you read more complex writings, sometimes that message isn't super clear. And it's not always a moral that you're supposed to learn, but there's at least a message that the author wants you to think about, an idea that the author wants you to think about. That would be the theme. So the theme is the main idea or the main ideas, since many books tackle multiple themes. So A Monster Calls, one of the themes of this book is the power of stories. In other words, and more specifically, that stories have the power to help us learn the truth. Sometimes those very difficult truths. That would be the theme in this case. Now you might be confused looking at the instructions to your playlist project and thinking to yourself, what does Brother Lyles mean when he says it is the power of stories as a theme, but also stories as a symbol? How is stories both a theme and a symbol? Well, let me explain. What's a symbol? Can somebody tell me what are symbols? Why do we look for symbols? Lacey.
A thing or personality represents another thing.
Yeah, it could be a person, it could be an object, it could be a setting, it could be a color, it could be an action. They're anything that helps us understand an idea. Usually an idea is very complex and very expansive, and we need something that we can easily identify that helps us understand very big ideas, right? I mean, the first book we read was Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. The lion is a symbol of Christ, of good moral character, of strength. That is how we connect that idea to that symbol, right? Young Goodman Brown, the pink ribbons represented faith, but also his wife was named Faith at the same time. So those are symbols. Those are ways that the author conveys an idea, usually through a character, through an object, through a setting, through a color. Colors can be symbolic of certain ideas and emotions as well. Lacey, did you raise your hand?
Yeah, I was going to say, like, Lady Macbeth washing her hands, and that one scene where she thinks there's blood, like a symbol.
Oh yeah, great connection. Yeah, blood was one of the symbols we tracked in, or more specifically, violence. But yeah, there was no blood, but it's also symbolic of guilt. She's constantly guilty of what her and her husband did. That even if there's no blood on her hands, she's still like trying to wash her hands. There's symbolic blood on her hands, not literal. Well, I love how you guys are making the connections here. All right, so symbols help the reader understand complex ideas, and the monster's stories symbolize truth and emotional honesty. So each story is symbolic of something, right? The story of the prince and the farmer's daughter is symbolic of, people are not who they claim, are not always good and are not always, it's supposed to be symbolic of not everyone is good or bad. No one is exactly good or bad.
No one is.
The apothecary and the parson is kind of a symbolic of faith versus reason, and then the invisible man is kind of about conquer. Let's talk about the monster's tales. I kind of jumped ahead. Right? So there's 3 stories that the monster told in this book. The first is The Prince and the Farmer's Daughter. That's the title I'm giving it because he doesn't really title the stories. It's just the first tale, the second tale, the third tale. So the first one was about the prince and the farmer's daughter. Then the second one was about the parson and the apothecary. And the third one was called The Invisible Man, not to be confused with the novel by H.G. Wells. He can't sue me for that because he's dead and the book is in the public domain. So think about the stories that the monster has been telling Connor, and I want you to briefly discuss this with your classmates. There are 3 questions. I'm gonna give you guys 3 minutes to talk about this with your classmates. The first is, in what ways are these stories familiar to other ones you may have heard? All these stories seem somewhat familiar to other stories we've probably heard, right? So in what ways are these stories familiar to you? The next question is, in what ways do they challenge your expectations about fairy tales? All of these stories are fairy tales in one way or another, right? The first one's probably the most obvious because it's got a prince, a king, a queen. And lastly, what truths did this story convey? Did these stories convey? All right? So, talk to your classmates, talk to people next to you. In what ways are these stories familiar to ones you may have heard? In what ways do they challenge the idea of fairy tales? And what truths are we supposed to learn from them? All right, 3 minutes beginning now. Let's hear some conversations. DEs, feel free to answer any of these questions in the chat.
You know, it's like a twisted version of Enchanted.
Never seen it.
In what ways are
The
these
nerve
stories
of you
familiar
guys.
to other ones
Well,
you may have heard?
I watch most movies, but there are some that look just bad, so I choose not to watch it.
I think
I've not watched Harry
Oh,
Potter.
he's never seen Enchanted.
what was the first
Which
one?
one is that?
Enchanted is
The
one of them.
the lady comes out of the
Prince and
cartoon
Farmer's Daughter.
and she's like really pretty, and then she's like, she comes up the sewer. Is that New York? Yeah, it's in New York. Yeah,
I don't know. I feel like the person who
Why? My mom loved that.
like
These guys, I don't
Like,
That movie went
another one
like
was,
triple
less
platinum in my
faithful,
house
like,
growing up.
Same. I watched it.
you know, like April's Cables kind of thing. Like,
Oh, we still
Oh.
like the DVD and we played in the car.
Mm.
Anyways.
if you
Do you remember the big
Don't
DVD
get it.
guys?
The black one? Yeah. Yeah, and you watched that.
All right, make sure that we are on a tangent.
yeah.
All right, let's be talking about the stories.
Second question: in what ways
I
are
think
these
it's
challenge
like different
Is that
versions.
familiar? Like, oh, a king. Oh, a prince. Oh.
because
But
it
you've
That's
doesn't
like
Oh, an invisible man, and then you know.
Lots of
Yeah,
stories
that's
what I was thinking.
for like younger children.
The Invisible Man is like the
Like,
invisible
also
man.
have, like,
I know, right?
elements
Like so
not
I've never read it.
Carson.
I've never watched Harry Potter. I've never watched Harry Potter.
Oh my
I
gosh.
don't have the intention to.
Oh, Mary Poppins is wonderful.
The U tree reminds me of Mary Poppins. That's that kind of. The U tree.
It's
Mary Poppins.
How is the U tree
Come on, children. Spoon for shoes. That's the medicine come out. Wait, let's the medicine come out? Every time. Give me time.
Yeah, it is. I don't know why that music kind of like the same. If Mary Poppins was telling a story, I imagine it would be like that.
what truths did the stories convey?
All right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, let's go through these. Let's go through these questions. So the first one is, so the 3 stories that the monster told were The Prince and the Farmer's Daughter, that's what I'm calling it, The Parson and the Apothecary, and The Invisible Man. In what ways are these stories familiar to other ones you may have heard? What ways are any of these stories familiar to other ones you may have heard? Hazel.
Like the parson and the apothecary. I feel like it's kind of like one of those Aesop's fables. Like if you don't give to someone, they're not going to give it back.
Exactly. I love how you mentioned that it's like an Aesop fable because that's the first thing I thought when I read this. I was
Really?
like, the first one is kind of like a pretty straightforward fairy tale,
Yeah.
except it ends in murder.
Yep,
And then
Yeah, pretty
and then
much.
the person, the apothecary, just kind of feels like a kind of a fable, like about giving or how you treat others. Like Parson Apothecary kind of reminds me of like Tortoise and the Hare,
Yeah.
or like Ant and the Grasshopper. How you're supposed to there are stories about how we communicate with others and how we're supposed to treat others. That's good. So that's kind of so in a way it kind of reminds you of that because we have a Parson and Apothecary. They're at odds. How do they resolve things? All right. Anyone else want to answer that question? In what ways do these stories seem familiar to ones you may have heard? Well, I can think of one. The Prince and the Farmer's Daughter sounds a lot like a usual fairy tale setup. There's a prince, there's a king, there's a queen. The prince falls in love with someone. Except we have we think. All right. Next question was, in what ways do these stories challenge your expectations of fairy tales or fables? Lily.
Fairy tales, like as a genre, are like mostly meant for kids. Not all of them are, but most of them are, and like they are meant to teach like a lesson in a way. Most are, and then they're also very cut and dry.
Yeah.
You know, like some fairy tales' purpose were literally to say like don't steal. You know, and it was very like cut and dry. But these stories are a lot more confusing, and they kind of show the human condition a lot more rather than just like being like fiction. You know?
Yeah, fairy tales are very straightforward because they're meant for children to easily grasp onto them and learn the lesson. However, you said these stories are very much like the human condition. The human condition is messy.
Yes.
So these stories are like, is it good? Is it bad? That's the question that Connor has to. So it challenges expectations. We're not going to catch the lesson right away. We might have to think about it. We might have to ponder it. It won't just jump out right at us. What truths are these stories meant to teach us? Right? Anybody? Going once, going twice?
Wait, which one is that?
The last one. What truths are these stories supposed to teach us? The stories that the monster tells.
There are no good guys, there are no bad guys ish.
There are no good guys, there are no bad guys.
Humans are complicated.
I'd say more so humans are complicated. Yeah, humans are complicated, and to an extent, life is complicated
It's hard.
because humans are complicated. Peter,
It's hard to discern good from evil.
it's hard to discern good from evil. All right? David, were you going to make another comment?
Well, real life doesn't work on like a one side other side basis.
Yeah.
It works like there's a mix.
There
with
is
everyone.
a mix. If you notice, fairy tales and fables and a lot of the stories you read as kids, they're very straightforward. They're very black and white, good and evil, and that's not what the monster stories are meant to convey. They're supposed to show a lot of gray area, right? So, I want to ask you guys this question before we start our activity: which of the monsters' 3 stories resonated with you the most? Anyone like to share? Lacey. The Invisible Man. I think that's the one that many people will latch onto. Why does the Invisible Man story latch onto you?
Because like during my 8th grade and like freshman year like life, I was really visible. I was the invisible kid that no one paid attention to.
Yeah,
I was like staying out by myself like in the hallways and like all that stuff.
yeah, sometimes we feel invisible because people don't notice us, or we don't want to be noticed. So we distance ourselves. Did anyone else resonate with the Prince and the Farmer's Daughter? No? Hopefully you guys are not plotting someone's murder. So, did anyone Yes,
Well,
Lacey?
for the Prince and the Farmer's Daughter, like one of like toxic love stories where like one person's like more toxic and the other one's like an actual decent person.
Yeah.
Like I've been in relationships where like the one I'm dating is like extremely toxic.
Oh yeah, relationships can be messy. I think that's another truth that story conveys. All right. So I want to ask you guys this question, but I don't want you guys to answer it right away. All right, just think about it. Think about some of your favorite stories. We're talking about the power of stories and how we don't just take in stories, we're supposed to learn something from them. Think of some of your favorite stories from books, from movies, television, musical theater, podcasts even. These can even be real life stories, maybe stories of your parents or something from history or from the scriptures. Think of some of your favorite stories, and I want you to just think about the following questions. What ideas did these stories express? What truths or lessons did you learn from them? And lastly, did they change the way you perceive the world? Just think about it. You don't have to answer out loud, okay? So, every story, as we talked about, looking at the different stories that the monster tells, every story is meant to convey a truth, a lesson, all right? So let's talk a little bit about the truth. The truth isn't always pretty. You might have heard the saying, "The truth hurts," right? So here's our class activity, and I think you guys are really going to like it. All right, so there's less. This is a small class, so we'll see how long it takes us to do it. So on my desk, I have a set of markers. You're gonna take a marker. Actually, all right, we're gonna use the whiteboard today. We are going to use the whiteboard today, and I will explain to you what this means. As I mentioned, the truth isn't always pretty. The point of a Monster Calls is that Connor has to come to know the truth and he has to embrace the truth. He has to accept it and embrace it. So here's where our class activity is going to be. So A Monster Calls invites the readers to accept tough truths, and the truth isn't always pretty. So think about other stories you're familiar with and the truths that these stories reveal. All right? Is it a comforting truth? All right? Is this a truth that's comforting? Sometimes the truth is necessary. Like we have to learn this truth in order to go about our lives. Sometimes the truth is just really honest. It should be. It's the truth. So what's like the most honest truth in a story that you can think of? Sometimes the truth is unsettling. Sometimes it's disturbing. All right? So what you guys are going to do is each of you guys are going to grab a marker, and I want you to write down the title of some stories that you know. These could be books, these could be movies, these could be parables and accounts from the scriptures, these could be historical events that occurred, those are stories as well, musicals, comics, whatever. I need you to, and think about, do they reveal comforting truths, necessary truths, honest truths, or disturbing truths? Heck, some of these might fall under multiple categories, and you could include them there. So everyone, you're going to take a marker, write down what stories you feel have comforting, necessary, honest, and disturbing truths. All right? So we're going to take a couple minutes to write them down on the board, and then I will we probably won't get to every single one, but I'll pick a few, and you have to explain why that was a comforting, a necessary, honest, or disturbing truth. Yes, David.
I think stories like this one could fit in all four.
Oh, yes. The Book of Mormon can fit under all of these.
That's what I was gonna do. You took my idea.
All right. So we'll take about 3 minutes starting now. Take a marker and write it down on the board.
Could they also be like personal stories?
Like stories you created. I would just any story you can think of.
Like
There.
like your life story, does that count?
You're still learning from your life story, but have you learned from others' the life story of others? Our story's still being written.
Any book in order to be able to spell.
Why is the only title popping in my mind Roger Rabbit?
Huh?
Well, nothing to do with any.
Jessica Rabbit. She's so cool.
Excuse me.
Jessica Rabbit, diva.
Well, the most disturbing truth I
That's
learned
right.
from that story is that people will try to murder you for your money.
That is true.
So the scriptures aren't comforting?
The scriptures can fall into all of
Just
them.
kidding. I can't read
You want me to write it for you?
Silmarillion doesn't fall into.
Exactly how not?
There are a lot of human truths in Tolkien's
There are, but I'm not sure it's the most necessary
I'm only.
of writings.
I can only think of the three.
It is very honest and very comforting.
All right, let's be quick. Let's give everyone an opportunity to write on the board.
Very category.
It is also quite disturbing.
Let's give everyone an opportunity to write on the board, guys. I want to have I want to take a couple minutes to pick a few and have you guys explain.
Me and bro and our team
I'm
effort.
gonna write one of the only ones I can actually think of. For...
Keystone.
Yeah, it's like,
Oh my god.
yeah, it's a joint idea.
David, can you just like stand over in the right area?
All right, let's take 2 more minutes. So I don't have time to discuss these.
I don't read comforting books. I read the most depressing books out there.
Neither do I. DEs, you can also chime in on this on the chat. What stories do you feel share honest, disturbing, necessary, or comforting truths?
No.
All right,
It's
let's
not a
take another
book.
minute. One more minute, guys.
Oh, anything?
Take one more. It doesn't have to be a book. It's just stories.
Not a book.
Oh, that's true. I wasn't.
It's just stories, guys. Stories exist in many ways.
Ooh, 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 ooh. Ghost.
Tsushima? Everybody goes to Tsushima. My Hero Academia. Jeez.
The Lion, the Witch.
I finished this game 2 years ago. Editor's edition.
How is Hades Town comforting?
So good.
Because it tells us even though we make mistakes, life goes on. It's comforting.
GTA.
That's-
No. Let's see.
I will say I loved Hades Town. It was really good.
My whole family's seen Hades Town. I've not seen it. I hope to see it this year.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Bluey.
All right, one more minute, guys. Okay, as soon as you're done with that one,
Bluey is very.
I should have taken pictures of these. I think my siblings would have got. I erased them after every class, but I think I'm going to take a picture of this one. All right. Okay. All right.
It's also the most disturbing.
All right. When you guys are done, we need to continue the class.
Temple Run was the most comforting.
Yes, Nolan. Someone put down My Hero Academia on the board. Okay.
I read very depressing and play very depressing things.
All right. Hazel. Okay. All right. I should have taken pictures of my last 2
Ghost of
classes.
Tsushima.
Okay.
Aren't the
So
classes recorded?
they are recorded, but you can't always see the whiteboard on the
Well,
camera.
like if you can, then.
All right. Okay. So stories have power, and stories can teach us truths, and the truths aren't always, cookie cutter nice truths. Sometimes they can be comforting, necessary, honest, and disturbing. So let's look at the first one, comforting.
How is Hades Town comforting?
Bluey. Who put down Bluey?
That's what I said.
Okay, Hazel. What is the comforting truth of Bluey? I'm just curious.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
I mean, I've watched it. Not all of it.
Literally, like
Just Bluey. itself.
everything. It's just.
It's about growing up.
Bluey, Like comforting too, because like, there
It's
was
like the most
this like
wholesome way to grow
there was
up.
this
with,
reel
like, the
we
most
saw.
lessons.
that was like
I grew up with
this mom was saying
I
to
mean,
Chili
if you
like,
had a childhood
"You're
that
doing
matched
great," and then the
Bluey's,
dad, like his kid's like eating a waffle on the couch, and the dad's like just crying.
It's comforting. Kids-
It's necessary
if you had a
because
childhood,
just because
unlike me.
Bluey's necessary.
I think Bluey has done a very good job in teaching us about how children manage emotions.
That show has so many details. It's
All right.
insane.
What's Life series? What Life series? Emma, I'm curious about that one. Yeah, what is that?
So it's a Minecraft series.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how is it? What's the comforting truth you guys learned from that one?
Basically, the gimmick is they only have a certain amount of life,
Uh huh.
and
It's like a hardcore.
it's a hardcore series, and they have to survive, and it's comforting because like they make like
Survival.
ships and
Oh, it's so
alliances. And, like, there's really good like themes and symbols.
So even within surviving, you can still make friends. That's a nice truth.
It's like
All right, let's talk about necessary truths. I think the scriptures fall under all of these. Ooh, who put down Good Samaritan? All right, Tessa, correct. What is the necessary truth of the Good Samaritan?
I don't know. I just feel like being nice to people, even if you're like better than them. I feel like that's a really good truth.
All right.
To learn throughout life.
I think I would argue that the Good Samaritan isn't teaching us that we have to be that people are better than us.
Well,
That even though we may come from different sides, they're opposite sides of the tracks, we're still people and we still need to help one another. All right, that's a good necessary truth. All right, Land of Witch in the Wardrobe I think has a lot of amazing truths. Honest. Who put down Silmarillion? David, what is honest? What are some honest truths in the Silmarillion?
Well, it's honest in that some people are immensely messed up, like Morgoth was,
Yeah.
and Fëanor to an extent. And it's also honest in that some people are really, really good.
Yeah, some people are very good and some people are very bad. That's just honest. Right? There's always going to be good people. There's always going to be bad people. Right? So that's an honest truth. And disturbing. Who put down The Outsiders? Lacey, what disturbing truth is included in The Outsiders? I think The Outsiders says a lot of things,
I love
but
the book so much. The movie sucks.
I've actually never seen the movie. I only read the book.
So like when Johnny Daly got unalive, like Johnny died in the fire.
Yes.
And then Daly got shot. I love Daly so much. So it's like, when we're like, oh, it's my fault they died. It's my fault that Johnny was trapped in the fire. It's my fault that Daly got shot. And it's like, no, it's not your fault. It's not. It's like Johnny chose to go back and look for something I don't remember, and Daly chose to rob the bank. It's not your fault.
Yeah. I would say that's a little more of a comforting truth. But The Outsiders has a lot. There's a lot you can take from The Outsiders. One, that sometimes it's not always your fault. I'd say that's a comforting truth.
Yeah.
But also that guilt, if you don't really come to terms with it, can really eat you up.
Yeah.
Yeah. If he didn't know if it wasn't his fault, he would have been wrought with guilt. And who knows what could have happened. Yeah, The Outsiders is a very good book.
I love that.
All right. So, some announcements. You guys have your playlist project. The rough draft is due this Friday at midnight. Yep, tomorrow at midnight. I'm going to open the submission page here in a little bit. All right? That way you guys can turn it in. If you guys are having any tech problems, links, or anything, please reach out to me. I'll be by my computer almost pretty much all weekend. I'll give you guys feedback so you guys can turn in the final draft on Wednesday. Your current reading is to read chapters 26 to 32 of A Monster Calls. You're finishing the book. And we will have our last reading quiz next Wednesday. Monday's grammar lesson is going to be on helping verbs and modals. Thank you guys for your participation. This was a really fun class. All right. Hopefully you guys have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you guys on Monday.